Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chumps. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV.
Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How the devil are we? It's Tuesday night. That can only mean it's the preview show, and it's a small matter of Fulham tomorrow night. And I think it's time for revenge.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
and it's live.
Well, where I am at the moment, ask me again in half an hour. It is Fulham. It is a chance for revenge. I think it's revenge, isn't it, Craig? Good evening.
I think revenge is the way to put it. I mean, look, it looks like I've gone into a tunnel there, doesn't it now?
I was about to wait until you had a break. I was going to say, are you sat in a fire? Because it looked like there was that's dedication for you. There's a fire going on, smoke everywhere. You're still performing.
It looks like I've had my COVID vaccine, and it's just drained all the colour out of me and sent me yellow. Anyway, there we are. Now that may be worse for a lot of viewers, I must admit. But anyway, let's carry on. Yes, revenge. Let's talk about revenge instead.
Yes.
You know, looking back, thinking that that was the last game that Fulham have won in the Premier League is a pretty shocking statistic, to be honest, for us, you know, and probably for them, to be honest, as well. But you know, we can't let people do the double overs this season. I mean, that should always be the thing, and part of the team talk. I think of you cannot let a team, particularly one of those down the bottom, do the double over you. Although I think we've probably got previous on allowing relegated teams to do the double overs, but hopefully this won't be one of them.
I mean, at the time, it was the end of the world, or at least it felt like it. You know, we were riding high. We were second or maybe even top, and we'd gone to the bottom team had come into our backyard and beaten us. And I felt a little bit better when pretty much the same thing happened to Sheffield United.
Yeah, when they beat Man U,
yeah. But it's still typical Leicester almost, isn't it?
It is, and it still rankles, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I think up to that point, Fulham had shown nothing in the league. I don't think they'd shown any sort of promise that they were going to get out of trouble. And that game has almost acted like a catalyst for them. I don't think, to be honest, they've got the points that their recent performances have deserved. I think they've played really well using our game. I think before us, I think they had the game, I think it was against Chelsea, and they were 3-0 down, and they managed to get it back to 3-2, and were very unlucky not to get a point out of that game. And then the next game, he went against us, and he kept all the subs that he brought on, they performed very well, to be honest. And they've not really, I would say, not really looked back in terms of performance. They've not looked back, but they've not got the points that they probably should have.
I mean, they were unlucky, in fairness, against West Brom. I felt they should have actually won that one. The last 5 games aren't brilliant. You know, they've got 3 draws in there, although in fairness to them, that was a good result against Spurs. They lost to Chelsea, lost to Man United, which, you know, for a team that's just come up is nothing to be ashamed of. Drawn with Brighton, which was probably a missed opportunity for them, as was the draw with West Ham. We can't let them beat us again, can we?
Well, you would hope not. You know, I would hope we're not going out with that attitude. But I think this is a tough game. Good evening, Stephen.
Evening, Stephen.
I think anybody who thinks this is going to be a game where we can just roll them over is sadly mistaken. I've seen quite a bit of Fulham recently, mainly because virtually every game is on TV. But they are the thing that worries.
You used to have a marriage, didn't you?
Yeah. The thing that worries me a little bit about them is that I think they are similar in some ways to Leeds, in that they're a very athletic team, and they tend to play quick football on the front foot a lot. And we've not coped with that particularly well. I think it's safe to say that we play better when we are playing at pace. And I think we were just very lethargic. We allowed Leeds to play at their pace, and we couldn't match it for some reason. I think through the middle of the pitch, the thing that worries me is that we're not athletic. You know, we haven't got a team of athletes. So if you come up against a fast-running team, unless we're in the mood to play around them, then I think we could be in trouble. So I think this is a really, really tough game, even though the relative positions of the teams should say otherwise.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, looking at the table here, we're now down to 4th, and dare I say, deja vu here. You know, last January we signed Mr. Bennett, and that was all. We didn't even manage something like that this season, and it was sort of around now when it all started to go wrong. I would hate to think it's like that, but looking at the other end, Fulham, they've played 20 games, so they're over halfway there, and they have got to play. They said Newcastle and Burnley in upcoming weeks, but they're scrapping for their lives, and they are going to be, you know, like the chained up dog that you're poking to get a response from.
I just want to make it clear that I'm not poking any chained up dogs. You know, put that right out there. But I take the point. They are, you know, they would have been really, really disappointed with the results that Brighton and Newcastle got over the weekend. Just when they thought they could start reeling them in, Newcastle looked like they were on a really bad run, and then they pull a 2-0 victory away at Everton where we couldn't win. So it just shows you how ridiculous this league is. Yes. But that's probably going to push them either one way or another. They're either going to have to roll their sleeves up even more and start getting some points and results, or they're going to start feeling a little bit sorry for themselves and thinking it doesn't matter what we do, we've left it too late and we're too far behind. So,
I mean, I was talking to Emilio from Cottage Talk last night before the marathon that was the dead end of a transfer show, and you know he was saying that they are up for this, and pretty much like our season when, you know, we got out of a position very, very similar, if not worse than they are now. We got out of it in the same way because we weren't having bad performances.
No.
You know, they haven't been tanked week in, week out. You know, they're getting maybe draws where they should have wins, and that was us. We weren't having bad performances. We weren't getting stuff 4 and 5-0. It is still in their hands, and you know, like I say, I'm just going to be a case of sort of who wants it more: the team that's fighting for relegation or fighting against relegation, or the team that maybe is starting to think we're better than we actually are. But
I mean, as you said, and you referenced the restart last season, I think obviously the restart was a little bit further into the season. I think we probably had.
Can I just say that's a vicious rumour? You're not allowed to poke on Facebook anymore. Sorry, Craig. Carry on.
Yeah, I think we were a bit further in when there was a restart, wasn't there? I think we played 30 games or something, or nearly. But we don't want to get in a similar situation where we haven't got the heart or the bottle for the fight. And to be honest, that's where the manager comes in. You know, the manager has to, you know, we've talked long enough about the strength of the squad and the quality of players we've got. Counts for nothing if you haven't got the heart. And we need to show that we've actually got heart as well. And we, you know, if we're up against somebody who runs more, who fights more, that we don't shirk that. And as I say, Fulham are a physical and athletic team. So unless we are up for that fight, then we will get turned over.
I think, and I'm interested in what the viewers think was going to happen this weekend. You know, the guys that, you know, you watch, and do you think, somebody said earlier it's not going to be easy. What do you think we need to do? I mean, I think we may have mentioned this before, Craig, is do we lack a Neil Lennon in the centre of the park? Somebody who's not scared to stick his boot in and maybe risk a booking. Have we got that? Is that Chowdhury? Is that Mendy? Or are we missing somebody like that? Are we a little bit too, you know, very nice, you know, powder puff football, but are we too nice?
I think so. I think I talked about it earlier in the season that I thought we lacked a little bit of bottle. And you saw that the way that Leeds just sort of ran through us at pace. It was like we were running through mud at times. You know, you can fight that by your positioning and making sure that you're well organised. But we just like, you know, it was a little bit chaotic and we were a bit playgroundish in chasing the ball. Having said that, you know, a couple of decisions and a couple of things. I mean, I think if Perez was wearing longer studs, he'd have slid in and scored and put us 2-1 up. I think we had a very good shout for a penalty. That on another day, somebody other than old Stevie Wonder, Mike Dean, would have given. So I think in some ways we were unlucky, and the game could have gone a different route. But at the end of it, the more athletic team won it on the day.
We've talked in the past, and obviously every week, and you'll be doing it later again. You pick the team that you think Brendan might go for, and it's become quite easy. I mean, that's not decrying the job that you do, but he has been going for the same team game after game after game. Now at half time, you know, it was 1-1. I didn't particularly think that Leeds would go on and win it. A couple of the Leeds fans have said we started to look a bit leggy, sort of coming up to 60 minutes. You've just mentioned it then. I mean, are we not using the squad properly?
I think it's that thing of becoming a victim of your own success, that formation, those players had been playing so well over the course of the previous few games. And it's also interesting, I read something today about, I'm sure it's not an excuse, but something to do with the pitch as well, where the plan was that
during the summer.
Yeah, the plan was that we would have had a brand new pitch during the close season, but because the two seasons were so close together, they didn't get to do it. So they think it's playing a little bit heavier than Rodgers would like them to for our football. But you know, at the end of it, it's the same surface for everyone. You've got to be able to adapt.
I was going to say Leeds have the same pitch, and we have that pitch every other game, if you like. You know, we should be getting used to it. Rodgers should have them. Maybe we've got that nice new fancy training ground, brilliant. We've got an indoor pitch, brilliant. Maybe you should have them down the King Power, practicing on that.
Play on that. Yeah. I think it's a valid point, Chris. Whether they're worried about the state of it, if they do train on it too much, I'm not sure. But I think it comes down to desire at the end of it. I mean, I was really disappointed in a couple of those goals, and people that you normally wouldn't be able to point a finger at. But I think the breakaway for the last goal, I think Tielemans watched Bamford walk past him or run past him, and made absolutely no effort to track him back. And I think that's where the biggest miss for me isn't Vardy, it's Ndidi, because he seems to sniff out the danger. He senses danger and he puts himself in a better position. I mean, that's going back to Sunday park football, that you used to, you'd keep two people back. One of them would be probably your fastest player. And for somebody to be able to run from 10 yards within their own half, through nothing is quite frankly ridiculous. And that's, again, where the lack of a leader comes on.
It came from, sorry to interrupt there, it came from our free kick, if I remember rightly. And I'm not sure who said it. Someone in the group posted. Was it Maddison? Was he taking the free kick, or had he been taken? I can't remember now.
No, I think he took it, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was calling like the back, Evans, Fofana, and that. He was calling them up because he was taking the free kick. And okay, yes, at that time we could have got, well, not with Maddison's free kicks at the moment, but we could have got a point from the game.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's basic football. You've got to leave somebody at the back.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is as well, it all becomes a bit too predictable, and that's the thing as well. Maddison's on every free kick. Mix it up a bit. Tielemans has got a fantastic. I'm not going to say wand of a right foot and that's into cliche land, but he can put a ball where he wants to as well. So I'd be
surely or Brighton as well.
Yeah, there's enough there to be able to whip a ball in. And the thing is as well, we haven't got a natural left footer who's taking them away. I notice that some teams, I think Southampton have got fantastic delivery, and that's always the same guy. But Leeds, I think, mix it up a bit. So sometimes they'd have Rafinha on a free kick, whipping it in with coming into the goalkeeper. We have the same guy, so everyone is going away from the goalkeeper. You can set yourself up. If you've got a right foot and a left foot standing over the ball, then the defender's not sure which way it's going to go. It puts a little bit of a seed of a doubt in the mind. So we're just becoming a little bit too predictable for my liking.
I couldn't disagree with that at all. And I mean, we looked at this stat last time, obviously updated now. 3 draws against Fulham, but we beat them 3 times. They've only managed to beat us once. Yeah, we know about that. Sorry, it's the other way around. Fulham have got 3 wins here. We've only got 1. Sorry, I was reading it the wrong way around. I was getting excited then. I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. I am really worried. And when you look at who we've got out, Vardy, and yes, okay, he hasn't scored for maybe the last 5 games, but it's what he does off the ball. You need him on. And I said again to Emilio, the Fulham guy, I said, how pleased are you when you see that Vardy's that injured? He says, well, I'm as happy as anything, Yeah. So it is a big blow, even if he's not scoring. Indeed, we've said Castagne's out. Fofana's now going to be out for, I don't know, what was it? They said 4 to 5 weeks, I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
Isn't going to be back for the season. Morgan, there's another backup defender gone. I mean, doesn't that, coupled with the transfer window day we had, whatever, yesterday, doesn't that sort of light anybody's warning lights at Filbert Way?
I think it would do. What I would say to sort of temper that a little bit is at the start of the season, you wouldn't have said Fofana would have been in the starting 11. I don't think you'd have said Castagne would be necessarily in the starting 11. Pratt wouldn't have been in the starting 11, neither would Morgan. So you're looking at Vardy and Ndidi as the key misses there. Obviously, what that does mean is we can't afford any more injuries, and we've seen what's happened. There you go. It's exactly the same. Vardy and Ndidi are the keys. The others were not necessarily starters. So, it's the same way Liverpool have found now. They struggled. They were struggling through, but then they've had even more injuries, so they've had to dive in and bought players that they probably wouldn't have bought, at least not yet. So we are thin. What we need to do now is get through these next 3 or 4 games without any further injuries. We've talked about the depth of the squad. Yep. This is it. So it's time for them to prove themselves.
I was going to say, I mean, should I be worried? I mean, we had worse situation and a lot more players out than that at the start of the season, and we were still second or third, And I sometimes think, and I fall into this hole very, very easily, that I expect us to be doing, because we've won 2 or 3 games on the trot, I expect us to win the next 3 or 4 games on the trot. I mean, looking at how we managed early on, we've got the likes of Thomas, we've got Albright, and we've still got a decent squad. Tell me I shouldn't be worried, Craig.
You shouldn't be worried, Chris. Don't worry. Everything will be fine.
I'm only 21. I just look this old for supporting Leicester.
I can understand that. I think we all feel a little bit of that. I mean, we all, and I mean every Leicester player, think that Ricardo and Soyuncu were fantastic players and were fantastic players. So what we're doing at the minute is not celebrating the fact that they're back. We're almost celebrating or commiserating ourselves with the fact that the people who replaced them have gone. So it is about looking at positives as well. I would say, we're in the top 4. I didn't think we'd be in the top 4 at this stage of the season. I thought at best, we would be going top 6. When we did the preview of the season with some of my friends, and we all talk about, try and predict the table, I had us as finishing 9th because, we'd got a European season. We're in Europe. Usually that has a bit of an effect, and I think it comes down to that managing the expectations, and that's the problem. We think that we now, because we're in the top 4, and I think we've been in the top 4 virtually all season. That anytime we slip out of it now is horrendous. But a lot of teams have slipped out. I mean, Spurs were looking fantastic earlier in the season, top of the table, and I think they're 7th at the minute or 6th. Yeah. Teams are going to come and go. It's about how you manage the bad patches. You turn the bad performances from defeats into draws, and you keep picking up points. And then you wait till you've got everyone back and you go again.
Good points. And talking of good points, I'm just going to bring 2 points up here that have been made. This one from Rob, just following on from yesterday. Club obviously doesn't want to spend money they haven't got or paying out up to our limit. I mean, we have to accept that King Power is a tourism company. And let's face it, tourism at the moment, they're not going to be bringing much money in to be able to spend out because nobody's travelling, are they? And when you look at yesterday, and the highlight of the signings yesterday was a couple of loan signings that were made. Maitland-Niles going to West Brom, and you then think, the biggest signing was Liverpool going to Preston, and I think they're in the 3rd tier, and signing a defender, and that's the biggest signing of the day. It wasn't just us that wasn't spending.
No, I think I thought the Minamino to Southampton was an interesting one that sort of came out of nowhere. But I mean, in answering Rob's point there, there's got to be 3 things to happen for a transfer. One, the club has got to want to sell. The buying club has got to want to meet the asking price, and the player has to want to come as well. And if you can't get all 3 of those, then a transfer isn't going to happen. And you don't just throw money at people that you don't really want. I mean, I read a very good article where Brendan was talking about how they go about transfers, how he's done it in the past at clubs and working with Lee Congleton. And they have a scouting network. They all constantly feeding into the club. They then sit down, they narrow it down, and then they have a list of 3 for each position of players. If they want to strengthen that position, they'll have a list of 3, they'll put them in order, and they'll go and try and get the top one. If they can't get that, they'll get the next. They're not going to go down beyond that. And each of those players has a value. Yeah. It's rare. I was talking to somebody today and saying that the Fernandes to Manchester United transfer last January was a freak. It's very rare that there's a big move or a player that has a massive impact in a January window. And with the best will in the world, we're not a Man City or Man United, not in terms of spending, but also in terms of attracting players. We're trying to build that we're an attractive place to come.
Yeah.
So I think it was disappointing, but I don't see the point in just padding out your squad with players that in a normal transfer window you wouldn't look at.
I think I got a bit frustrated because I was talking with Brad for 2.5 hours about nothing. It was, thank God we had the guests to come on and pad it out. But yeah, I think we would have all felt a lot worse if other teams have been buying. I mean, I think it's just with the situation that is out there. Like I say, when that was the biggest sale of the transfer of the day, it kind of sums up that it was a window that should be forgotten.
I would say that. So the flip side of that is, everybody was completely underwhelmed when it looked like we were getting Chalobah from Watford. Yeah. So you almost can't have it both ways. That you want us to buy players, but then when you don't think they're up to standard, you don't want them. Yeah. So who would we have bought? I don't think we were actually linked with anybody of any real significance during this window. And you can look at it again, and I think I said this last night when I came on, was on the chat, was that Arsenal didn't want Maitland-Niles to go to a rival. Now, it's many, many years since I would say that Arsenal see Leicester City as a rival. That shows you the stature that we are in now and the way that the club is being built. And I think just padding a squad with second-rate players might have seemed the right thing to do just because we're short of players. But at the end of it, when you get all your players fit again, where are they? They're just sitting in languishing somewhere, picking up a wage.
That's what happened with Ryan Bennett, really, wasn't it? And
exactly.
Jim Bower that was coming in, I wouldn't say he gave us anything that Chowdhury going out can't give us. But I just want to very quickly touch on this. And it is a good point. Is there an issue with our training programs? Are there too many soft tissue injuries? I mean, Fofana seemed to play the game, didn't seem to be in any trouble during the game, and now he is out for 4 or 5 weeks. And it's a very good point Stephen makes there.
I think probably what's happening, and I don't think it's just Leicester City. I think a lot of clubs are finding this, is that in a normal season, you would probably, if a player picked up a bit of a strain, they would get a week to work on it. Now they're not. They're getting 2 or 3 days at the maximum. And then if they're playing again, that can just make the issue even worse. So they're not getting the recovery time because of the amount of games. So you either change your team virtually on a game-by-game basis to allow people extra time to recover, or you play a team that's playing well. And I think it is just a bit of a conflagration of all these things that is meaning that we're suffering a little bit at the moment in terms of these muscle injuries, because they're not bad injuries. They are sort of wear and tear and fatigue injuries.
Looking at our sort of form going into this game, all right, we've got the Leeds one, but we're not the Invincibles. And I know we look back at the 15-16 season when we won it, and we only lost 3 again all season. But I mean, if we look at the table. Let's just bring it up here. Oh no, I haven't got the loss one on there. But we are losing games, but anybody can get anybody this season, and we are away from home, and we've only lost. I think somebody commented earlier, we've only lost 1 away from home.
Yeah, I think it seems to suit us a little bit more in the way that we play, that we sort of pick teams off. I thought, I was very disappointed with the Leeds performance because I thought they would play into our hands by the way that they throw people forward. But again, it comes down to that speed of play. I think our transition was too slow. Leeds are athletes, and they got their players back in. They sort of hounded us. They were chasing us back down the pitch. So I think we were just totally outfought, outrun, and outplayed on that game. And what we haven't done this season, and I hope it doesn't happen now, is that we haven't put back-to-back poor performances in. We've tended to bounce back from anything. So I'm hoping that the same happens again tomorrow night.
you would hope that playing against Fulham next, that wouldn't happen. If we'd got Man City, or I said that we beat Man City, obviously, but if we've got the Man City of now or a Liverpool, we could be possibly looking at that. But like you say, you would hope that it's not going to happen. As Rob says there, a win tomorrow night would give the boys a boost. It certainly would. But it is Fulham. I say apart from that loss, I mean, that was the first, I think, loss for us in 7 or 8 games. It is, we all get upset, but it's not the end. It is one game, bad day at the office. As long as it doesn't, like you've just said, then as long as we don't drag that out into another bad day at the office, and then it's a bad week at the office.
I mean, what have we got left? 18 games. If we went through the rest of the season and we only lost 1 every 8 games, I'd be quite happy with that. And I think that would see us that will see us in a very healthy position at the end of the season. And I think that's what you have to look at it as. I think every team has had a bad performance. As I say, Man United had that shocker against Sheffield United. Before that, everybody was talking about, wow, this is a brand new Manchester United, and they could actually go all the way. And then they turn on a performance like they did against Sheffield United. Teams just run out of steam a little bit. I think the most the saddening thing was that we played, even though we didn't get the result against Everton, I thought we played really well against Everton. So It was just disappointing that we didn't back that up with another good performance. And most people can take, a defeat or a draw if there's a good performance behind it. I just think the Leeds game was one to just forget about very, very quickly. And hopefully they have as well.
We're going to have a look because it's time for you to put Brendan's clothes on again. And we're going to have a look and see who you think he will go for in this weekend. And we'll be back after this quick short jingle.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
So we've got a comment here. I don't want to point the finger and use him as a scapegoat, but Perez appeared to be a passenger for 90% of the game. Perez, Victor Nacho surely proves we need a striker. But almost feel we can go on about. We've been going on about a striker for 3 or 4 years. We know we need everybody apart from the club. It seems to think we need a striker. Maybe Brendan's come out and said we're going to get a striker in the summer.
Yeah.
So, like you said earlier, he might have his eyes on somebody, but not all teams want to sell in January because they're in the middle of their own problems.
Exactly, and you've got to look, as I said before, people know that we've got a little bit of money, so it's an inflated price. You've got to take the player into account. How many players who are in teams below us would we actually go and want? I could probably think of one that most people would say would be Danny Ings. I know a lot of people in the close season were shouting for Callum Wilson. I've never really been convinced about Callum Wilson, although, to be fair, I thought he put in a really good performance against Everton. So, again, apart from going abroad, you look down the rest of the Premier League. I'm not sure there's that many that you would say, yes, they'd be great for us. Again, down in the Championship, you've probably got Ivan Toney at Brentford, who's had one half of a season at that level. So it's not like there's a big long list of strikers who you think are the perfect person to fill his boots. It's going to be very, very difficult. And obviously, there's Eduardo up at Celtic.
Be a fly on the wall in the changing room and see. But that's a discussion for the summer. Let's forget Vardy's replacement now for 3 or 4 months. We haven't got anybody. Brendan's going with what he's got. Talking of Brendan, you've got to go with what you want now. And I need to get a jingle for this. I really do. But it is time for Craig's team selection. Craig there, putting on his manager's jacket, his manager's shoes. I think we all know who's going to go in goal.
We do. I mean, part of me hopes that I get this wrong this week, because last week against Leeds was the first time that I think I've got all 11 players right, and then they go and lose.
Typical. It was you. It's your fault, guys. If you want to blame anybody, don't blame Brent. Maybe when Alan Bennett does the post-match shows, we should have team rating, Brendan rating, Craig rating.
Definitely. Just put us in, right?
But talk us through your. Oops, that's the wrong one there. Talk us through your back four. So we're taking Schmeichel as a given.
So Schmeichel, I think this back four sort of picks itself now just because of the injuries that we've got. So Schmeichel, Soyuncu and Evans as the middle two, Ricardo and JJ as the fullbacks.
I mean, even with the injuries we've got, that's not a bad back line, is it?
I mean, that you'd have taken that at the start of the season. I think you'd be happy, particularly maybe not JJ because he was a bit of an unknown quantity, but he's been fantastic this season. Probably our most consistent performer. So you take that back line. I think most games. Yeah,
and again, this is probably you haven't got a lot of choice with this, unfortunately. But who you can put in the middle there? We can see.
Yeah. It's Mendy or Chowdhury, and I'm going to go with Mendy. Although, part of me wouldn't be surprised if he went with Chowdhury because I think he's probably a little bit more athletic. He's got a bit more legs about him and he's probably a bit more physical. And Fulham are pretty physical in the middle of that pitch. They've got some big guys through that middle. Anguissa is a really good player. Harrison Reed, I think he only came on as a sub in the last game, but again, very, very busy player. But I think he'll stick with what he knows and he'll go with Mendy.
Again, after his performances at the start of the season, you can't say that he's a bad player, can he? He's not Ndidi, but he's not a bad player, is he?
No, he's a very decent stand-in, as you say. If you take Ndidi as 100%, then Mendy's a sort of 80-85%. I think we did miss Ndidi against Leeds, but Mendy in most games, hasn't let him or the club down.
I'm, to be honest with you, pleased that we have kept Chowdhury, especially with Ndidi's injury. Maitland-Niles, I can never get that the right way around, had he come, is more of an attacking midfielder, but I'm glad we've kept hold of Chowdhury.
Yeah, I think the only reason that you would have probably made an argument for Chowdhury going is that the club actually see something in him and want him to get game time, but they know he's not going to get it here because he's sort of third in the pecking order. So sending him out on loan does mean at least he's playing. And if they think there is something there that can still be developed, then he's got half a season to actually play in the Premier League and prove one way or another whether he can or not. We're not really going to learn anything about him sitting on the bench. So
no,
I could see why they were looking at sending him out on loan. And bringing in someone like Chalobah, who probably wouldn't play anyway, like Hamza's not going to play, would make a little bit of sense. But
no, I get what I don't want to sell Chowdhury. I do see him as a squad player, or that can step up, and he's got the European experience as well.
Exactly.
So you've gone for the 4-1-4-1. So moving on to the next row of players, talk us through that.
A slight change here, and I did change my mind on this. I think Tielemans and Maddison's. Tielemans has been really good this season. Maddison's I was very disappointed with. Made all aspects of his game against Leeds. I thought he was off the pace. I thought he didn't come looking for the ball enough. He was knocked off it too easy, and his set piece delivery was nothing short of abysmal. But he is a creative player, and before that he'd had a very good run, a goal scoring run. So everybody's going to have a bad game. Let's hope that it's just one. So Tielemans and Maddison. Barnes, I think, has been fantastic, and I know a lot of people are calling for him to play through the middle. For me, that just takes away something. That is a gamble because he's improved a hell of a lot this season in the position that he's playing. Now, if you then ask him to do something else, a lot of the time playing with his back to goal, you don't know what you're going to do. What you may do is risk losing the Barnes that we've seen. And I think he likes to play on the half turn. If you're through the middle a lot, you don't necessarily get it. But what you did see was that he was taking up central positions anyway, but he wasn't standing there to be picked up by a central defender. He was drifting into those positions. So I think he's much more dangerous coming in off the left-hand side. In the same way sort of Rashford does for Manchester United. When they play through the middle, they're very, very different players. So I think Barnes is in his right position where he can drive into the middle exactly like he did for his Leeds goal, rather than being stuck and static in the middle.
And you've gone for under on
yeah,
the right.
so I've gone for under there. Just because I think we need a little bit more creativity. Albrighton's done great, and originally I had Albrighton in, but then again, the more I thought about it, and the other thing was that I talked about us only having right footers in that team. That's a team of right footers. If you take under out of it, we've got no variation in set pieces. With under, as a left footer, you've got a variation in set pieces. You can have in swingers, not just out swingers the whole time. So I think he brings that. I think he looked dangerous. He looks like he wants to jink inside people. He looks, it's almost like, whoever we put in the middle, and we'll find that out in a minute. It's almost that under Barnes and the central player, almost mimicking the way that Liverpool play, with Mane, who's predominantly right-footed, cutting in. Salah plays on the right, cutting in on his left as well. And you've got three forward players who want to take the game to the opposition. I think with Albrighton, he does a great job, but he also thinks a lot defensively. And I think if we sometimes get stuck thinking defensively, we lose something offensively. And I think Under's done enough now to be given a chance. And I think this is a good game for him to drop into and see what he can do.
He has looked good there, and he's looked hungry. And I'm not, as I say, I'm not criticising Albrighton at all. I think the way that the squadders had to step up at the start of the season, we've got a season out of Fuchs that I never thought I'd see again. Morgan's come in when needed, and Albrighton, like I say, he's some ways he's up there for me for player of the season, because he's knocked himself back on, he's knocked on the manager's door and said, "Oi, look what I can do." And he admits himself, and I think we've said this, he has admitted that managers don't take to him straight away. But he's come in and he's done a really, really, really good job for us. I say he's up there for me. I think maybe even for player of the season. But the big question is, and I couldn't find a drum roll, but don't know if you can hear that. Who are you going for up front?
This is where we lose half the viewers. This particular week, I'm going to go with Iheanacho up front. And very good. I'm going to go with Iheanacho up front, and my reasoning behind this is, I think Perez has done very well. I know he got a lot of stick. As I say, he was another little bit of a lengthier stud on his boots, and he would have probably scored against Leeds. But as that person said there, for me, Perez has a tendency to drop deep, which means you have nobody who's pushing their back line. And that allowed Leeds to push further up the pitch because Perez they didn't have anybody to mark, essentially. And for me, I think Iheanacho's got more pace, and I think he prefers to play on the shoulder of the defenders much more than Perez does. And therefore, he will push their defence back more than Perez would if he was playing up front, just because Perez's natural tendency is to drop it into the sort of 10 role. So I think Iheanacho, he does have a bit of pace, so I think he is he has got a bit of pace in it, so he has got a threat in behind. I think he does like to play on the shoulder of the defence, and as I say, I think he will allow us to get up the pitch more and quicker, and not allow Fulham to press us back. That's my reason.
Can I just say the viewers have just halved? But no, they haven't. Don't worry, they haven't. I mean, I think I was certainly surprised. I thought when Vardy was injured that Iheanacho would just go into that position, and I've been surprised. And that Inacho hasn't been starting and he has gone for Perez. And okay, there's tactical reasons and why Brendan's done that with the formation and what he wants, etc., etc. But it's been 3 games now.
Yeah.
And I think, because we're playing 2 games a week at the moment, and we are next week as well, I was expecting changes against Leeds. And I thought when Inacho wasn't picked, I'm thinking, is this kind of Brendan saying, you pick up or get out sort of thing?
Yeah.
Is tomorrow that game, if Perez is picked again, and I would go for Inacho. I must admit, I am surprised by your choice of Inacho. In fact, this was my other... You did shock me when you sent the team through. But is this tomorrow... The make or break for Inacho is that he's going to be given his. If he's not given his chance, is what I'm trying to say. Should we think that's the end for him?
I think so. To be honest, I think that's the only conclusion you could get from it. I mean, looking at the game against Leeds, I don't see. I don't see how he could go with Perez again. As I say, that's nothing against Perez or the type of player Perez is. He's just not suited to being someone who plays on the last man. And I think at the end of it, Iheanacho is a striker. He's a natural striker. He's a natural goal scorer, and he has been earlier in his career. I think I think sadly enough, he's just a confidence player. I think there's clearly something there, but I think he does have a little bit of pace, and I think he will offer more of a threat in the absence of Vardy than Perez has shown in the last few games.
I think he's got a lot of pace, to be honest with you. I was as I've always said, extremely pleased when we bought him. I thought him and Vardy were just going to rip defences open between them, but it never worked out. Nobody we've gone with the one striker for a long time now. I mean, I'm going to regret saying this. I really am, because I said it earlier in the season, and it came back and bit me on the bum. And I can't remember what game it was, but I said this was the chance for. It was against a lower team. No disrespect to them, but I said this is a chance for Iheanacho to come on now and prove that he's got what it takes.
Yeah.
If we were playing Man City and he didn't score, or if we were to play, and I know you shouldn't judge things like this, but I think it's natural to do that. But we're playing a bottom 3 side. We've got to be up for it because we've just lost to Leeds. He's surely got to step up to the mark and take his chance. And it's like I said, this way I'm risking it. It's a good game for him to try and do that.
I think so, because Fulham have got to be on the front foot, as you say. Points, they've got a decent record recently in terms of not losing, but they've got far too many draws. And they came out. Scott Parker came out and has said that he needs. They need to turn the draws into wins. So they're going to have to be on the front foot. They're going to have to come at us. And I think Iheanacho does play on the half turn. He looks to have the ball sort of slid into him. He has got good feet as well. I think he's got all the attributes. I just think he needs, whether it's one to go in off his knee or God knows what, I don't know. But he needs to be. I liken him very much to Jesus at Man City now. They look similar players in terms of they're not quite as good as the guys that they're having to replace, and they almost have that sort of chip on the shoulder that they know that. And when the main man, Aguero or Vardy, is playing, they're going to be out of the team, which must be very difficult for a sort of second string striker to have to live with. That he knows every time he goes on the pitch, he's under pressure to perform. Otherwise, he's straight out again. So I just hope that, he does play. And I think you also need chances to be created. I used to be, I know a lot of people won't believe this, but I used to be a striker when I played. And I look at their game in a all-rounded, in a more all-rounded view. So it's not just about goals. It's about the running off the ball. It's about the positions that they take up, their movement. For me, like Cavani is fantastic. You look at Cavani off the ball, it's phenomenal, the runs he makes. And that's why I look at Iheanacho, and he's got all that. But he needs the ball delivering at the right time. So I think he needs he needs feeding.
So we're going to just take a quick look then. So we've got Schmeichel in goal there, Ricardo, Evans, Soyuncu, Justin, Mendy sitting in that holding midfield role, Under coming in for Albrighton, Tillemans, Maddison and Barnes, and Inacho for Perez up front. It's probably as good as we are going to see. I have a feeling it would be that team, but I have a feeling he'll stick with Albrighton, and I have this awful feeling he's going to stick with Perez. So we will see. We will see. But we're now moving on. We're going to have a look, and it's that time for a classic match. And we'll be right back after this to have a look at that.
Hi, Alan Smith here. Be sure to watch and listen to Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels. Up the Foxes.
Indeed. So thanks a lot, Alan. So let's have a look and we'll see what you've got. And I know we've not played each other a lot, so I know you are struggling with this. I mean, what 1 week you're going to come back to me and go, Chris, I just can't find classic match this week. We're out of them, especially when we get to next season and when we're going, we've got the same teams barring 3. Can I just say, by the way, somebody's just posted there, Watford have beaten Arsenal, but interestingly, Sheffield United have beaten West Bromwich Albion.
Have they?
Yeah, so it's getting. I don't know that they've updated they haven't updated the table there. Let me just go on have a look on the next one. My internet is being extremely slow. It is all very tight at the bottom there now. Yes, it is all very tight. But Wolves doing us a favour there with Arsenal.
I think the only thing that would give me a greater pleasure than us finishing in the top 4 is for Sam Allardyce to get relegated with West Brom. But,
I think we all agree that. But I actually said that to the Fulham guy because I said, are you going to stick with Scott Parker or are you going to do what West Brom? And the point was, and I think Brad said yesterday, is it any different to how people used to feel about Leicester when we sacked Ranieri? I can remember the abuse I got off people, so-called friends at work about it. So, I kind of get, we all do it. But, I would like to see Sam go down. Probably should rephrase that, but you know what I mean. Right, so let's have a look. Your classic game, you managed to dig one out of the cobwebs.
I did, really, because I know that normally this time that we do the same. So if we're playing away, we'll do an away game. I know we changed that as we went through the season. So earlier when we played Fulham at home, I did an away game. So I'm going to take the opportunity to flip it this time. So I'm looking at a home game. And I'm sure it's a little bit more recent than some of the ones I've done. And some people will remember this. It was a League Cup quarter-final in 2000 on January the 12th, so not far away from where we are. And when we played Fulham, and it was an eventful game, shall we say, the least. So we, if anybody remembers this, and I'm sure if they were there, you would remember this. So we went 2-0 down in this game. Pretty, it was a 0-0, I think, at 0-0 at half time, and then we basically decided to shoot ourselves in the foot. Paul Pescasolido opened the scoring for Fulham. Now Mr. Karen Brady, as he's known, and then Steve Walsh managed to mess up a back pass to set Pescasolido in, who passed it to Horsfield. So 2-0 down after 75 minutes in a quarter-final of the Cup. We then somehow managed to rally ourselves with good old Ian Marshall getting the first one back in the 85th minute. And then Steve Walsh redeemed himself in the 87th minute. 2 goals in 2 minutes. And we managed to get back to 2-2 and took the game into extra time, where we managed again to concede. Chris Coleman, he of Fulham, of that parish, as a manager as well as a player, gave them the lead, and our good old friend Ian Marshall came back again in the 111th minute to get us into extra time. So there then ensued a penalty shootout, and that's where today's quiz will come. Chris. We won the penalty shootout to take us into a semi-final. And obviously, we then went on and won the cup. The last League Cup final held at Wembley before it was knocked down and rebuilt in the year 2000. So we won that penalty shootout 3-0. Now, I was going to be really hard on you I was going to ask you who the 3 penalty scorers were. But I think even that is a little bit too hard for your brain. So what I'm going to ask you is, can you remember who was our penalty goalkeeping hero of that evening?
Now, I remember listening to this game. I was actually living in Burnley at the time, and I was actually working at Blackburn Rovers, would you believe, at the time, which is how I got to go to the final, because it was Tranmere, wasn't it, in the final? And I got my tickets through working for Blackburn Rovers, because every club gets so many free tickets. And believe it or not, there wasn't many Blackburn Rovers employees that were rushing to get the tickets for Leicester versus Tranmere.
Wow.
If anybody can help, I am talking along here. If anybody can help me with this answer, it would be rather nice. There's an answer come up here, and like I say, I remember listening to it on the radio. I was going to go for one of 2. Now, Rob has gone here for Ian Walker, which wasn't going to be one I was going to go for, to be honest with you. But he might. I don't know. I've got a feeling. Was Kevin Poole still with us at the time? And I know you don't like a question about a question, so let me say I'll go for Kevin Poole.
Well, unfortunately, it wasn't Kevin Poole. And Rob, well done. You're wrong as well. It wasn't Ian Walker.
I'm trying to think, and I'm not Googling, man. I'm not Googling.
If anyone Googles, they're only cheating themselves.
Oh, said like the true supply teacher. I'm trying to go through, because it was not Ian Walker. Casey Keller.
Wrong.
Oh, bugger. And I tell you what, Stephen Collins just came up with the same answer then after, and I didn't see that. He also went first for 10 flowers. I have a feeling Chando Dave may well have got this on the head there with, I thought he said it was Perez. I need to clean my glasses. I said that it might be better in goal. Who knows? Peggy or Pegsad?
It was Peggy or Fexad. It was.
Well done, Chando Dave. A prize will be on its way to you from Craig.
Who we later sold to Liverpool.
I'm going to say he did go off to Liverpool. Yes, yes.
Just as an aside, have you got any idea who may have scored a penalty for us in that shootout?
Well, when you started talking about the game, the name that came to my mind was Ian Marshall, because I know he was heavily involved. Maybe the penalty didn't get to him because being the striker, he may have been on the 4th or 5th penalty. They missed all of theirs, didn't they? They didn't get any, if I remember.
Peggy saved, I think Chris Coleman blazed one over and then Peggy saved the other 2.
Who was their manager? I'm trying to picture who their manager was at the time.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who it was, actually.
No. So, not knowing it wasn't Ian Marshall, Gary Parker?
No. Parker didn't play. Parker wasn't in here.
I've got here, Bruno, Walshy and Parker.
Bruno, Walshy and Parker. Well, out of that 3, I'm going to give you no points.
It wasn't okay. Let's be totally silly here. Jerry Taggart. No disrespect to Jerry Taggart. I'm just trying to think of people.
I'm going to give you the starting 11 and leave out the players who didn't. Who didn't take one. So Matt Elliott, Frank Sinclair, Jerry Taggart, Steve Walsh, Andy Impey, Steph Oakes, Theo Zagarakis, Emil Heskey, and Ian Marshall, which, if anyone was counting, would tell you that only one of the starting 11 scored a penalty, and the other 2 were both subs.
You're going to have to. We've got no chance on that. You're going to have to tell
all night. The one of them was not Konchesky. One of them was Robbie Savage.
Oh my God!
The other 2. Now you've got to know your Leicester players. Nor is it Lennon. The other 2 were Graham Fenton.
Oh God, yes.
And even more of a oh God, yes, the great Arne Gunnlaugsson.
Oh, I used to love him. Oh, the bold Icelandic man.
Exactly.
Well, that's just sent me definitely like that, I'll tell you. We nearly didn't do that because we were nearly going to be joined today by Steve Lynex, and I can't wait to get him on, and then you can stop asking me these questions.
I'm still going to ask.
But okay, let's quickly now, because we've gone on a bit there. So let's just quickly score predictions. Steve Walsh has gone 2-1 to Leicester. Steve Lynex, talking to the man himself, which is why I wanted to get him on tonight. He was going for 2-1 to Fulham. Ian Marshall's gone 2-0 Leicester. I've gone 1-0 Leicester. I think it'll be quite tight. Who do you think? What do you think it's going to be?
I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Leicester and an Iheanacho double.
Well, and if you get that, mate, I'll get you a pint if that comes off.
Excellent.
Thanks so much. Are you going to be able? Well, I think we're looking at doing the preview show for Wolves on Thursday. How does that fit in with you, sir?
That should be fine for me. It'll be a birthday celebration. So if anybody wants, it is indeed. If anybody wants to have a cake and a pint while they're watching, then that'll be more than happy enough for you to join in.
Well, I tell you what, sir, you are looking extremely good for 21. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's all I can say. So, and hopefully we will try and get Steve on that show, and he wants to come on regularly, so that would be great having Steve Lynex with us. So somebody's gone here 1-0 to Leicester, Madison, and somebody here has gone 3-2 to Leicester. I can't. My heart won't take a 3-2. I'm going to do that. Craig, thank you so much. We will see you on Thursday. Pleasure. Thanks very much. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thanks a lot to Craig there, although not thanking him for every week making me look totally stupid with these questions that he comes up with. I wasn't there. That's what I'll claim. I wasn't there. I was sat in a house in Burnley listening to it on the radio. Guys, thanks so much for joining in. Hey, we've got to win, haven't we? It's a must-win game, surely, tomorrow. We don't want to lose any more on the other players that are around us, and we don't want to lose to a bottom 3 team again, and we don't want Fulham to do the double over us. Nervous times or just supporting Leicester times? Probably the second. We'll be back tomorrow at about 5:20 with the pre-match show with Josh. And then at about 8:20, the post-match show, will be joined then by Josh, and Julian Watts is back with us on that, the ex-Fox there. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow night. All the best now. Bye-bye.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.